Both. Yes.
Oh, hello, my friends, and happy summertime. Some summertime. It is July 26th, and a gang of us are just getting over COVID. So reading a book and making your brain make sense of what were those things called again? Oh, words and full sentences. Yeah. A little more challenging this week, but I want to welcome you to Sanctuary Online. It's our book club night in July, and we are going to discuss the humans. You'd think with a book like that, there'd be more people on tonight. Wouldn't you just think? I mean, more people would resonate with humans.
I think it's the aliens that should be here.
Well, I think they always are, Cheryl.
How do we know they're not?
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're right.
Right.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Ken. All right, my friends, I'm gonna hand you over to the hostess with the mostest, Cheryl. They are all yours, and tonight I'm lovingly not going to do a poll at the end of the evening because you've already chosen August's book. So Cheryl, this motley crew, gorgeous and intelligent, witty and wild, are all yours.
Yay. Y'all remember the book for next month, right?
No.
The Boy and His Dog at the End of the World or something like that, right?
And the aliens, the boy, the dog, and the aliens at the end of the world.
No.
No alien.
And the End of the World. Yeah, that one.
A boy and his
Anyway,
dog.
yeah. Boy and His Dog at the End of the World. All right.
It'll have to be
So
continued. That title's so long, it'll have to be continued on the next text message.
I'm wondering how you're going to do that. You're going to have two texts for that one. Barb.
August and September.
Oh,
Who's that by?
don't know.
Not that there might be two, but there
No,
could be.
Some guy with a dog, Janice, I don't know what his name was.
Okay, whatever. I'll find it.
Oh, hold on, Kay's got it. Kay, do you have it right there? Look at
Yeah. It's C.A. Fletcher.
Kay, yours. Can you hold it up again, Kay, so we can see?
Sure.
Look at that gorgeous title. A Boy and His Dog at the End of the World. E.A.
At the end of the world.
Thank you,
All
Matt.
right. That's a serious
Looking
way
book.
to read that book. Big hardback edition here. Cool. All right. So we had an alien with a human name in here. So I don't know what to call him besides call him the alien, or the narrator or something. Anyway, so let's just start out with something. When we first met him, he had some initial perspectives on humans, and I wondered if any of that found you laughing or thinking, you know what, he's kind of right, about some of that. Anybody specifics about that? Kelly, you're on mute if you were talking. Oh.
I said I thought it was hilarious. I'm rereading The Clan of the Cave Bear, and that's really funny because they think that us white people are gross too. The clan is whatever the people before us were, cave people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool.
Well,
There's
there he
Bud.
is.
There's Bud.
They were saying
Bud.
things about you, Bud.
Only good things, Bud. Only good things. But Bud was trying to get in, folks. He just couldn't get in. He was working on it. So
I was working on
welcome, Bud.
it. Thank you.
Mine wouldn't start either tonight.
So, Bud, we were just starting by asking what you thought of the aliens' perspectives on humans. If you said, yep, those are kind of right on, and you kind of identified with them and said, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of silly, right? Yeah, it was kind of funny. Anything specific that anybody found?
A protruding nose.
A protruding nose.
Mhm. Mm.
Oh, there's,
And our gross
Hear me?
food.
let's see.
And our what, Kelly?
Gross food.
Mm. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I read it over a month ago, so I've forgotten a lot. I've already read August too, so,
Oh, man.
but I've forgotten a lot. So anyway, I agree with what y'all are saying.
Yeah. Did you find yourself kind of identifying with them? Or did you start
did.
saying, yeah,
I didn't want to
yeah,
at first, because his insights, his criticisms, his analysis of our society and what he calls civilization, was so critical. But then after a while, you just have to admit, that these are amazing insights
mhm,
into the hypocrisy that exists in our civilizations, and at one of my favorite quotes, somewhere in the book, he says, civilization is what happens when humans get together and decide to suppress all their basic instincts.
mm,
And
yeah,
I just thought that was such an amazing insight, into what we call civilization or society, or whatever. So, yeah, to begin with, I was almost kind of offended or put off, by his criticism, but then I had to come over to his side, and then he had to come over to mine.
right, exactly. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, his whole thought process at the beginning is this: humans are stupid, weird, they tend to be very violent, and after a while they grow on you, right? Yeah. So he went to that space kind of. Well, there's some pretty interesting messages in this book besides just his insights that go on. One of the things that I just wondered about at the very beginning, though, is that, as we're kind of warming up, if the aliens were so advanced, I wonder how come he showed up so unprepared to assimilate into Earth's culture. Did you think that was weird? I mean, no clothes, no insight, no nothing. He just had to learn everything. You'd think he would come in more prepared. And I guess that's just part of what made up the book, huh?
I didn't notice that, but I agree with you. I never thought of it. I was
Yeah.
just enjoying it. I wasn't analyzing
think-
anything.
Yeah.
I think part of that was it was like, one of the main themes of the book, obviously, and in fact, I think it is what the book is about, is that, well, we know that humans are capable of reason and emotions, mainly love, but all emotions. And there's been a debate from the beginning of time about which one of those should have the most influence in the way human individuals live our lives and the way societies function. Should we function more from reason, or should we function more from intuition and emotion and love and affection and all of those things? And so I thought that what this book basically is just a treatise about all on the side of emotion. And so he comes from a place where everything is about reason, everything,
Yeah.
cold, hard reason. And so I think that almost, not quite, but almost explains the way he came here. He didn't understand anything here because they didn't understand anything here,
Yeah.
because they operated out of pure reason. And then, he, and at the beginning, he thinks that's the only way anything should operate, is mathematical certainty and reason. And then it is the ability to feel that wins him over later. So I think that may explain some of his unpreparedness, that
Yeah.
they just didn't understand the way we function as compared to beings who function from pure reason.
So they couldn't even conceive of it from their, from their perspective or from their way of being. Yeah. That makes sense.
Did he kill the father, the one who discovered that, or did that guy die? I never was quite sure.
Killed
The
him.
hosts killed him. The people who sent him.
Oh, they
Killed
killed
him.
him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew he was already dead, but I couldn't decide. what had happened.
Yeah, well, what do you think of those aliens using their power to change Earth's history? I mean, you can go back to Star Trek or other things where, you know, you come into a culture. I mean, even on Earth, we talk about whether we should go into a country and manipulate their culture for a variety of reasons. Or, so what did you think of them using their power in that situation?
Isn't that what we did?
Right. We've done it over and over, but I think now we're sort of aware of it.
And yet we want to erase that history because we
Right.
are aware of it.
Yeah,
Because
we
it's
don't want to face
embarrassing.
it.
Mhm.
Well, and one of the things you're talking about is the indigenous peoples, you know, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, that and, you know, the Black people that we forced to come over here, we wanted to erase everything about them. And now we want to erase everything about what we did to them.
Yeah,
And I thought it was ironic that for him to be able to kill people, he had to not view them as, well, I can't say the right word, human, you know,
Humans, yeah.
because he didn't view them as anything worthy, you know, or worthwhile. It's like us killing a bug, you know.
yeah.
And
I
then
wonder where he pulled his emotion from. I've kind of, if that was
Mhm.
covered, I missed it.
Mm-mm.
I mean, he just
No, I
suddenly
think it-
started
yeah,
having
it's-
emotion.
Yeah, it seems like he just kind of grew into it, just having, you know, spending the time, you know, trying to, he was told to kind of assimilate into the culture. And I don't know. It is.
It seems like the
They
boy.
justified their power because they were coming from reason and no emotion. And their reasoning said, we do this for the greater good. We do it for the good of the universe and for peace in the galaxies
Mhm.
and all of that. And so they could easily use their power to manipulate, kill, do whatever they had to do because the ends, you know, the satisfied the means satisfied the ends, you know, as long as pure reason, you know, was directing their actions.
Well, and Ken, what about in our own, you know, society? When we go into other countries and we can't decide whether or not we should interfere with them or not, even though they're doing things that are, you know, harming people or, you know, mass suicide, mass, you know, genocide type stuff, all that kind of stuff going on. And we can't decide, should we go in, you know, because it seems by our standards to just be, you know, wrong. And
Just
yet,
think about in the last 25 years, how many countries have we entered saying we are not here to do nation building?
right.
And then we end up doing nation building in every single one of them. We try to take Jeffersonian democracy, you know, to the Middle East, which is insane, you know. But yeah, we just have different justifications for thinking we're so right that we can use our power. Might makes right, you know, the old might makes right thing.
Yeah.
As long as I'm strong enough to do it, I should go ahead and do it.
Yeah, because there's three ways that you can deal with it, you know. One is power or dominion or suppression, in this case, how he was suppressing stuff that was going on in the culture, or non-interference, or what you're talking about, what we call support or encouragement or nation building or whatever, you know, that way of doing it, which is really, it's definitely not non-interference. Let's put it that way. But I just remember that was Star Trek's thing. And I remember I used to be upset sometimes when Star Trek would say, well, we can't interfere with their culture. And I'm like, well, yeah, but they're killing people or they're doing this or whatever, you know, they're harming. And yet that's the culture, you know? So it's a very, sometimes I think it's a difficult thing to decide to leave some culture alone because it's, you know, because it's harming what you consider to be the right thing to do. And in this case, they did it by, you're right, by the numbers, by, you know, just straight out logic rather than based on any emotions or anything. But they were afraid.
The way
Go ahead.
Western colonialism has done this is by what we have called manifest destiny,
Mhm.
which is the idea that this is somehow ordained, you know, that we do this, that this is manifest somehow, that if you have the power and the might to take over and change something, then it's somehow God's will, you know, that you go ahead and do it. And because Western colonialism was strong enough to do it, we claimed to manifest destiny and just, you know, wreaked havoc all over the globe.
Sure. And a lot of it was religion oriented too, right? You have to go
Yes,
out there
yes.
and bring Jesus to these people.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that kind of things. They were afraid that with this Ryman's solution that, that we would somehow destroy the world or destroy the universe or wouldn't know how to handle that technological advancement. And so that was their rationale for doing this. And they even stated, I think, some things that were major technological discoveries that we were involved in, you know, that we've had that we didn't handle well, you know, the whole thing with the atom bomb or, you know, that kind of thing, right? What major technological discoveries do you think have fundamentally changed our world for us?
The internet,
The internet, yes.
Mhm.
huge.
First, it was, well, not first, but TV in itself changed
Oh,
the
yeah.
world.
Telephone.
Mhm. Telephone.
Yeah, any kind of communications and stuff like that. What right
It's
now?
medical technology, but birth control
Yeah.
changed
Oh,
the
yeah.
world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what ongoing research now that if a solution was found would fundamentally change our world?
AI, artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
It's already starting to change it, but it hasn't hit that tipping point yet, right? Yeah.
That cutter thing. Can't think the book we read.
Oh, genetics, the whole thing with the gene manipulation. Yes, that's another one, right? That could totally change things because it could also adjust our ability to even be more healthy, you know, and get rid of some of the, you know, illnesses that are going on. Wow, that would be huge, wouldn't it? What if they could find something like that and things like, you know, long-term disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, or, you know,
Alzheimer's.
dementia or Alzheimer's, anything like that, that could be overturned or overcome. That's huge, right? Something like that would change our world. And so you think, Ken, when you were talking about what the basic message of the book is about, the difference of coming from a place of the heart versus the mind, basically?
Yeah, I think so, mainly because the way the book ends, you know, I felt like that theme was happening all the way through the book, but really by the end of the book, he's just turning into this big softy. You know, he's just becoming this very emotional human being. And, you know, I think the book is both an indictment and an affirmation of what it means to be human. And in the first part of the book, we get the indictment, you know, which is this is everything that's wrong with these strange, weird, dangerous creatures who are now threatening the rest of the universe. And then the like the last part of the book is an affirmation of like, yes, although we are weird and strange and all of that, there's something about us, you know, that makes us totally unique in the universe. And he just calls it love. He just says, you know, he just comes right out and says it's love.
Yeah.
It's the ability to actually reach beyond yourself and care about another human being. And that's our whole human story.
Sure. And did you think it was, I mean, it was a lot to give up to say, you know, he could have immortality. He didn't experience any pain. You know, a lot of things like this were going on, and he gave all of that up to be human. Would you do that? I mean,
I don't know, wasn't in his shoes, but it
Yeah.
doesn't sound logical. So there's reasoning.
That's the point right there. Yes.
yeah,
That's it. This is
Yeah,
beyond
what-
reason.
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people say, you know, if you're not experiencing pain, then you can't experience the whole, you know, the way that it feels like when you're not in pain, or the healthiness and that sort of stuff, right? So there's, I don't know. Well, even at the end, our alien didn't seem to think it was, I don't know, he didn't even address whether or not he thought that it would be okay to go ahead and allow or provide the humans to get that Ryman solution. Do you think he thought better of, you know, allowing that to happen still in that situation?
I think at the end, doesn't he actually say that when he comes back to Cambridge to lecture, his colleagues jeer him when he tells them that the Ryman solution is impossible and
Right.
that they are wasting their time with
Right.
it. So I think he ends up right where he started, with the idea that if humans solved that issue and had the power that went along with that, that it would be a real risk and danger to the whole universe.
I wonder if he thinks that at that point when he wants to be human, if he's like, wow, I wouldn't want their society to go back to kind of how our society is and give them the power to do that. I, you know, now that I've found this humanness, I don't want them to have that taken away, and I don't want it taken away from me, you know? Maybe something to that effect. Well, what else? I didn't have a whole lot of other stuff from this book. I wondered if you guys had something else you wanted to relate about it.
I wondered if anybody else found it funny at times. I haven't laughed out loud reading a book in a long time. And there were several times that I just laughed out loud at this. And
Yeah.
mainly it was about his insights. You know, they were just so right on the money that I realized I was laughing at myself, you know,
Sure,
for being
yeah.
human. But I just thought his humor was amazing.
I
Yeah,
thought it was good.
that was the same thing with me at the very beginning, especially when he started talking about all these things. And I pretty quickly could identify with the stuff he was saying. I mean, even about what clothes, why are clothes so important? And why do you have to wear certain clothes for certain things and this and that? Really, I'm like, really, you know, we are very, very
She'll be
conscious of
naked
that.
if she could.
Huh?
I said Cheryl would be naked all the time if she could.
Well, that's just me.
I agree, Cheryl. I think
I'm
it's
with you,
silly.
Cheryl.
It's all silly.
Oh. But yeah, I mean, there was so many things in there like that. And you're right, Ken. And even when he would ask questions, you'd be like, yeah, what about that? Why are you, you know, when he was asking particular questions. Yeah.
I like
This
the
is
way
not-
he,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No,
I
go
like the
ahead.
way he tried to get close to the boy.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he recognized that that was important if he was, you know, going to be a human.
Yeah.
And that he tried to figure out why the boy was the way he was, you know.
Yeah. It's interesting that his first relationship, so to speak, was with the dog, right? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, he liked that dog.
And it's interesting, our next book is very relatable to dogs.
Yeah. Cool.
It's good. I just finished it.
Could most of us relate to that? I mean, when he was still the alien before he lost his gifts, as he called them, and he and Newton could communicate with each other. You know, I thought, well, shoot, I communicate with my dogs. You know,
Yeah, really.
They-
I know.
they tell me stuff all the time. You know, so I thought that was a wonderful. That didn't have to be in the book, but the
Yeah.
fact that this alien related to an animal other than human first, there's something really significant about that.
Yeah.
You know, I think in terms of what the writer is trying to communicate to us here. The other thing, Jan, I'm glad you brought up the thing about Gulliver, because that was another thing that just really impressed me, was that he had a number of relationships while he was still an alien pretending to be Andrew Martin, and after he actually became a human Andrew Martin. The only one that succeeded in the book was Gulliver. All of his other relationships failed in some way. Now we have some hope because of the way the book ends, you know, that he was going to go back to Isabel and maybe the family was going to get back together. But when he has that conversation on the bench with Gulliver, it is clear that his influence on Gulliver has changed Gulliver in such a way that Gulliver is not going to change the world.
I can't remember Gulliver.
The son
Who was that?
was
It
their
was
son,
the son.
Oh,
15 years old, problem child, horrible problem child. You
I
know,
just don't remember his name.
rebelling and tried to commit suicide and, you know, all kinds of things. He was kind of written as the typical teenager,
Yeah.
you know, searching for some kind of identity. And by the end of the book, it's clear that the alien's influence on him has changed him altogether.
And mostly because he showed caring for him.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
And
And his real father didn't.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is odd because
Is that what's going on with all these kids that are killing?
Yeah. Oh, well, it's part of
Right.
it.
It's gotta be.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like, how can parents say they had no idea they were going to do that? They are not paying attention, you know? They are way too busy with the rest of their life.
Yeah. Kay, did you have anything you wanted to add to any of this? No? Okay. I do want to say, just beyond the book, even if you guys and we can go back into the book if you want to, that Carol Ranelli couldn't make it today, she and Rose, because Carol's mom just died. And so they were unable to be here. And she said that her mom, she's pretty calm about it. And she felt like that she had had a really good last visit with her mom, and they had shared a lot of joy, and she had closure with her. And she's glad she's where she is. And yet it's always still hard to have that happen because it was a heart attack that was unexpected. So in any case, if you can keep her and Carol and Rose in your prayers, that I would appreciate that. And that's where they are. So.
Is her mom in Florida too?
They weren't in Florida, they were in Wisconsin.
Oh, they were?
Yeah,
I
that's
had to
where they
think
live,
that.
Wisconsin, Carol.
I'm thinking of those two elderly ladies. I can't.
Right, yeah, yeah, you're thinking of Carol and Bonnie and Carol.
Good, so it was a Carol at least.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. What else about the book, you guys? I mean, I don't have anything else. I think we've kind of touched on most of the stuff.
I was sad it was so short,
Really?
but if it had been longer, would have thought he drug it out or something.
Huh.
Did you notice that there somewhere in the notes in the book, it says that the movie rights for this book have already been sold?
Huh.
Wow.
Wow.
So I would be really interested, in knowing how this book would be put on film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
By
that
the
would
way,
be
the
really-
Cage, no, not Cage. The Crawdad one is in the theaters now.
You
Yeah,
know,
where the crawdads sing.
yeah,
It's
I was
awesome.
thinking, did you see it, bud?
Yes.
Did you read the book with us, or did you read the book separately?
Read the book, then saw the movie.
Man.
I'd see the movie again.
See, and that was
That's
one
my
of my
neighbor
favorite
told me.
books. I read the ending. Remember that, Cheryl? I read the ending of that book. I audibled it. I listened to it. I don't know how many times. But I've been wondering. I almost thought, because I remembered loving the end so much, so I wanted to go back and listen to the end before the movie. And I'm like, no, I want to watch the movie because I can't. Just like you said, Ken, I can't conceive how they could make that movie. I mean, I have so many visuals in my head from that book, like she described, I mean, in great detail. I have boats and I have swamps and I have reeds and I have the home and I have her being with her father. I mean, I don't know how, if I even want to see it, but I know I want to see it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I just loved it. We all loved it.
Yeah, I can't
The
wait.
photography, the music, pretty boys.
And it's a Reese Witherspoon is the
Uh-huh.
director or producer, right?
Yeah.
And then I just read some articles on this. Isn't that interesting? So
Yeah.
I wish there was a way for us to watch it together.
Oh, it's great. It's really great.
Yeah.
I agree with Kelly that I didn't want this book to end. Usually by the time I finish a book, I'm ready for it to end.
Mhm.
But I didn't want this book to end. But the other thing that I really liked about it, I liked the way this book was structured in very short chapters or segments. It made it so easy to read for me.
Yeah.
I could pick it up and read 7 or 8 pages at a time,
Yeah.
and read 2 or 3 totally self-composed segments, and then pick up right there where I left the next time. So I really enjoyed reading this book simply because of the way it was structured.
Yeah, that did make it a lot easier, didn't it? And each of the areas it was almost like he was addressing a whole separate topic almost, when he moved into each of those areas. Yeah, interesting.
I wondered about, toward the end of the book where I think it's 97 different lessons for humans or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Just those. I wondered if any of those had really jumped out at anybody. It's several of them I think are just so wise you could write a whole other book about them. But I just remember when I read through those, I can't remember right now which ones, but that there were several things in there. I thought, wow, we could spend a lot of time just talking about this.
Didn't he write those to Gulliver?
Yes.
Yes, they're to Gulliver. Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter how many times you call it beef, it's still a cow. That's the one that goes in my head.
Yes. Here's one that number 48. No two moralities match, except different shapes, so long as they aren't sharp enough to hurt.
Mm.
In other words, there is room for difference in all of our opinions, as long as we're not hurting each other
Right.
with them. And that
Yeah.
seems like such an incredible lesson for our society right now. We've always embraced diversity and difference, at least nominally in our culture. But right now we use those differences to try to hurt each other.
Yeah.
And so I thought that one was really particularly wise.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. It really isn't the book, but it's about social media and how it's affected our lives, that people post things on there, and they're people I know, and I'm so shocked that they would put that on there, and it changes my whole opinion of them, and it's very disappointing. Like one of our cousins, Sissy, posted something really insulting to Biden. And I'm like, I don't even care if you don't agree with this politics. You don't have to. I mean, she was saying something about a frail old man who can't even speak or something. I mean, she just went on about him being, I just think it's so disrespectful. And it really disappointed me. I even told her in my thing that wasn't right.
Did you unfriend her?
No, no, but I did an angry face at her. But it stuff like that changes how I feel about people. I think it's sad. Like you were saying, what technology has changed here. Well, social media. People say things that they would never say in person,
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these things, Ken, there's everything he wrote in here. You could take each one that he wrote and talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, this one, number 86, to like something is to insult it, love it or hate it, be passionate. As civilization advances, so does indifference. It's a disease. Immunize yourself with art and love. It was interesting to me because that's so like the biblical thing that says, I'll, either go with this side or go with that side, but don't be in the middle or I'll spew you out of my mouth, right?
If you're lukewarm, I'll spit you
Right.
out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Passion, just he exalts passion all the way
Yeah.
through this book. First of all, he finds it repulsive, and then he finds it fascinating, and then he understands that it is the way everything moves forward, that if you are indifferent about things, nothing ever changes. That
Right.
you gotta love it or hate it, but you gotta be passionate one way or the other.
Yeah, one way or the other. Yeah. And you can't find happiness looking for the meaning of life. Meaning is only the third most important thing. This was interesting to me. It comes after loving and being. After loving and being, meaning. Interesting.
From someone who was all logic before.
And this one was funny to me. A watch pot never boils. That's all you need to know about quantum physics.
Oh,
I think it'll make a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't be interesting to see how this will get interpreted.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing about his evolution as a human is how he begins totally in isolation and wanting to remain in isolation and not wanting to have any kind of connection to anything or anybody. And he thinks that's the way he will maintain his personal integrity. By the end of the book, he is longing for connection and community.
mhm.
By the end of the book, he is literally, he says, you know, when he sits down by Winston Churchill on the bench, you know, at the very end of the book, you know, he says, you know, even if it's just Winston Churchill, this old hobo, tramp, homeless man, you know, even if it's him, I've got to have some kind of human contact.
Mhm.
And that just really speaks to what's happening in our culture right now, you know, about the isolation that a lot of social media is causing, and how we're going to recreate community. So of course, it speaks to me, it speaks a lot about church. You know, I'm always looking at church and saying, what's going on with church? You know, and right now, church is in the biggest revolution it's been in for 600 years. And it is basically, is church going to continue as the place where we all get together and fulfill that need? Or are we going to find other ways, you know, of doing this?
Yeah.
Wow.
The senior center.
Sanctuary Book Club.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
Sanctuary.
Right.
That's exactly what Sanctuary is about. Yep.
Anybody else? I'm like you, Bud. I read this a while back, and I probably should have wrote down a lot of the thoughts that I had when I was reading it instead of waiting until the end. But yeah.
Yeah, I finished it right away and I can't hardly even remember, like, I don't remember how it ends. I remember I was sad because he wasn't with the wife, but I can't remember if he got back with her.
He was getting ready to go there and find out.
Oh, okay.
There's hope.
He
Yeah,
left it
there's
open
hope.
for another book. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go,
Get
Janet.
up and go home. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Well, and Cheryl, I would say you might want to cut yourself a break. You've had a tough couple weeks. I taught for the first time today. I was personally so lucky to have COVID. The only week that I had no like corporate responsibilities. I wasn't teaching at all. And today I began a 3-day morning and afternoon teach. And this morning Friday, I'm like, yeah, I'll be great. This morning, I'm like, I want to die. And so Cheryl knows, I mean, I actually went showered and everything and then went back to bed because I just was that exhausted, and been trying to get up earlier and earlier, you know, like normal. Didn't work well at all. And then when I came out today, we took the dog out to the airport and ran her, and then we did some errands like that. When I finished my 4 o'clock, so I've been teaching for 5 hours total, I came out to the backyard and Cheryl's just sitting in a chair with her head in her hands. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, not very much. I'm like, what'd you do today? I took a nap. And I'm like, and you are my 6th hour now on Zoom today. I'm like, man, oh man, it's so Cheryl, it is challenging. And I think I'm struggling with when you think of social media, Kelly, a thank you COVID post, because none of us lost taste and smell except for Cheryl. And so, I won't say all the things you said, honey, but some of them are quite funny. But she would taste a blueberry and like, I can taste the blueberry, and so many other bodily functions. But it's that blueberry tastes so different after your taste has been restored.
Mhm.
Right. And breath. The first day I walked, I'm like, I just went around the block. I didn't go around the lake, just around the block. And it still felt so good to be able to have that much vitality to go a block. And
And every day I would ask Cheryl how y'all were doing. She'd go, oh, it's nothing. You say, oh, we're doing fine. I
Yeah.
just lost my taste and smell, but everything else is fine. I don't even notice. I'm like, right.
yeah, that was not the truth for me. I don't think it's actually the truth for you. Maybe she's making you feel good, Kelly, but
Yeah, she's probably making me not worry.
that level of exhaustion is something I don't think I've ever experienced in my life. And I don't think we got very bad cases. I do think we got very light and we got
Yeah.
off pretty easy,
Yeah, I mean, Ken, did you lose your taste and smell?
Yes, I did. Not for very long, for like 3 or 4 days, I think. But remember, I was flat on my back in bed for 5 weeks. I couldn't even get up.
Yeah.
But that was before all the vaccines and and everything. So yeah, I ended up with almost all the symptoms before it was over, ending up with double pneumonia in both lungs. But yeah, I did lose my taste and smell. It was a weird experience, just a totally.
Yeah, it is.
I know. We're like, how's dinner tonight, Cheryl? She's like, I don't know.
I know.
It
Cooking
feels
dinner, and I'm like, okay, guys, somebody needs to taste it. Tell me if it's okay.
That'd really be hard to cook when you don't have any taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't follow recipes, I taste.
Yeah, the one that Joe's talking about that was kind of funny to everybody was I came out and everybody was sitting out on the deck, and I came outside and I said, I have great news. I just smelled my fart.
Oh my goodness.
Because earlier in the week, she came out of the bathroom and said, I don't even know if my shit smells. I'm like, these are the COVID things that are not posted all over social media.
Never thought of that aspect.
No.
Anyway,
When you live with a 93-year-old, Kelly, some of this stuff is more common conversation on the back porch than maybe we, whatever.
So mother's fine and she's never gotten it?
no, she has it, or
She
she
had it.
had it. She tested positive longer than we did. But
Really?
she just never got any symptoms. She was asymptomatic.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
She's
Yeah.
got some kind of immune system.
I tell you
Yeah.
what, Cheerios.
Cheerios. Yeah.
Cheerios every day, 10 a.m. I've been eating them ever since. I mean, but yeah, when Cheryl and I we tested negative on Friday, Cheryl, something like that. Mom tested
Wednesday.
Yeah, Mom was still strong positive. It was interesting. And we're like,
Yeah.
really? She was all bummed out about that. And then she tested on Sunday and we called it negative.
Yeah.
Because our concern, some people test positive for a long time after they don't have any symptoms and they're not contagious. And at the border they pull over and do randoms.
Mhm.
So if she didn't have a negative and we went to the funeral this weekend in Canada, we were risking it, her getting pulled over, us getting pulled over, and her not being able to go to her brother's funeral. So it felt good when we saw that she was testing negative.
Wow.
And then she feels the same as she did last week and last month. Someone said, you got sick last month? She's like, no.
Mhm.
Hey Barb, why don't you jump in? Would love it if you want to give us a little preview of 8/9/22. What's coming up?
I have to get off mute first.
Yep.
Yeah, some of you may have been on, well, a year ago now when we did the Egypt travelogue focusing on pyramids and Valley of the Kings. Well, we're going to go back to Egypt, and this time we're going to see some of the amazing temples. There's just a couple of little teaser photographs. The one in the top right up here is Karnak Temple. No, it's not invented by Johnny Carson. But Karnak Temple, that's not a typo. It was actively used, built, and added onto for more than 1,500 years, between 2000 BCE and 100 BCE.
Well,
How long were you there, Barb?
10 days.
Wow.
You did a lot.
Yes, we did. So lots of incredible stories, and Karnak Temple is so huge. It would fit, if any of you have been to Europe and seen some of the monster cathedrals all over, you know, the European continent. This temple would hold 10 of those huge European cathedrals.
well,
That's almost inconceivable size.
It is. Yeah. It
And
is.
that it was done in 1470.
Yet more inconceivable, right?
Yep.
And that's when I do believe in aliens. I mean, the only way these things are built, right, was aliens.
Right.
Yeah.
But man, oh
The one
man.
at the bottom is Queen Pharaoh Hatshepsut's Mortuary Temple. Pardon my language, but this was one badass woman.
So
She cross-dressed. She used male pronouns for herself, and wore the kilt of the pharaohs and the false beard of the pharaohs. But was a woman, and, you know, referred to herself as queen, a queen pharaoh. So she rewrote all the rules and ruled Egypt for about 20 years. And this one at the bottom is her mortuary temple. By the time Hatshepsut came around, they were no longer building pyramids. They were burying the pharaohs in the Valley of the Kings, but you still needed to have a mortuary temple because the pharaohs became gods when they died. So there had to be some place for people to go to worship the dead pharaoh. And that's what the mortuary temples were. So this was
Wow.
Hatshepsut's mortuary temple, you know, carved into the side of a cliff. It's actually abuts on the back, the Valley of the Kings. If you were to go up and over that mountain in the background, you'd be in the Valley of the Kings.
Barb, your pictures about Egypt, this last travelogue and this one, I have never been more inspired to go somewhere based on, you know, what you've done with all these photographs and your stories and your memories and your,
Yeah.
you know, your historical perspective on this. So I, for one, am really looking forward to this. And the fact that you already have slides done just cracks me up. It makes me miss you all the more. But, so we'll do some good advertising for this. And again, it is going to
Spread
be,
the word, bring friends.
yep,
Yep.
bring
Are
friends.
we off next week?
Yeah, we're off next week. This is on the 9th, Kelly. This is on the 9th. So when I say 8/9/22, that's what we're looking at, right? August already, which I can't even imagine. But
Yeah.
good thing you Texans have been practicing your temperature for 4 months now.
Crazy.
Awful.
Yep.
Awful.
All right, friends, I'm gonna say la vie, and nobody mentioned anything about this, Cheryl. My background.
I think it's
oh,
lovely.
so many
behind
bits.
in He's behind in his reading.
Oh,
Anybody?
he's
What was
behind.
that? What was that show?
Two
Oh, what was it?
men and
What are you talking about?
a name of a show.
Two men and a. It was three. Oh, who was it? Charlie Sheen.
Oh, 2.5 men.
Two and a half men, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's one, I don't know if you know how you've got favorite episodes. There's one where Charlie Sheen's brother is losing it and he loses it in a bookstore. And right, they're waiting for a movie.
In a movie theater, he was losing it. And he had to drag him out of the movie theater, and everybody was wondering, looking at him like he was a weirdo and stuff. And he kept yelling and screaming all the way out. And he just turned around and looked at everybody in the movie theater and said, he's behind in his reading.
But whenever Cheryl sees that, it's her lifetime little cameo of someone that she thinks is ridiculously funny. So if that wasn't really funny to you, then
you have to see the show anyway.
All right, my friends, be safe out there. We mean it in a way we never meant it before. Wash your hands. Take care.
When is
Love you.
what's the August date?
The 9th.
No, for the books.
Book club.
23rd. We made it for you, bud, so you could come.
Well,
That's right.
your
We
book club.
leave for Alaska on the 27th.
So no
Right.
excuses, but that is your book club night, and it's about a boy and his dog and some
And I'm
aliens.
gonna read it again, so I'll know.
Oh, good.
I'm gonna read it twice. It's good.
Right.
It's
Love
good.
y'all.
Love you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.